One of the worst MASH episodes tried to force the drama so much that it forgot the show is also supposed to be funny. Fans of this legendary sitcom are divided on how it evolved. MASH ran for 11 seasons in total, and there were some big tonal changes in that time. It transitioned from being a wild sitcom with an anti-war message into a sometimes deathly serious dramedy. The very best outings were able to balance these tones, though MASH's best episode, The Interview, is also borderline gag-free. It ultimately comes down to personal preference, but MASH's various actor exits and its willingness to experiment kept the show a hit for over a decade. Of course, it also ran for over 250 episodes, meaning it had to weather some dud outings. Alda's least favorite episode from Season 1, for instance, involved a silly treasure hunt scheme. The Season 4 episode, Hawkeye, is highly divisive too, since Alda's title character is the only cast member to appear and never shuts up the whole time. Fallen Idol is the worst MASH episode directed by Alan Alda. This Season 6 episode got the famous MASH dramedy balance all wrong. Radar lying in bed in MASH Season 6 Fallen Idol. The final season aside, MASH had to crank out over 20 episodes per season. Even with the best of intentions, some of those are bound to be underwhelming or force a premise because they're run dry of good ideas. Alan Alda himself wrote and directed MASH's Fallen Idol, which is one of Season 6's worst outings. This isn't down to the acting or that the concept is too far-fetched, but rather because it makes most of the cast weirdly combative just to make the premise work. Fallen Idol opens with Radar being wounded after Hawkeye encourages him to take some R&R. The guilt-stricken surgeon later drinks to excess, to the point that he's unable to do surgery the next morning. Once Radar hears this, he becomes oddly judgmental and berates him, with a furious Hawkeye then yelling at him. While this MASH episode sees the two resolve their differences by the end, it feels like the only way this plot works is because it requires everyone to act out of character. Radar and Potter, Harry Morgan, are weirdly critical and self-righteous towards Hawkeye, in ways they never usually would be. It's also odd that the uptight Charles, David Ogden Stiers, would force Hawkeye to perform surgery, even though he's perfectly aware he's still drunk and thus shouldn't be anywhere near a scalpel. Naturally, BJ, Mike Farrell, is the only calm voice, but it's still a plot where everybody feels they must be yelling at Hawkeye at all times, who in turn gets extremely agitated at being yelled at. Alan Alda directed 32 episodes of MASH. Hawkeye was a big creative voice on MASH. When MASH began, it was intended as a two-hander between Hawkeye and Wayne Rogers' Trapper, just like in Robert Altman's 1970 movie. It soon became clear Alda was the show's breakout star, with Rogers leaving after Season 3 because he felt his role being lessened. Alda would also become a key creative voice behind the scenes, helping to shape stories and the general direction of the show. Alda directed 32 episodes of MASH too, including divisive ones like Dreams. He also helmed some great episodes, like the literally haunting Follies of the Living, Concerns of the Dead, where the ghost of a dead soldier walks around camp. It's easy to see what Alda saw in Fallen Idol, but it was approached from the wrong angle. If anything, the focus should have been on Hawkeye's alcoholism and how it affects his performance in surgery, with the character having to reckon with his addictions. Instead, it is a strange morality tale that sacrifices humor for unearned pathos. If one character involved acted like a grown-up, there wouldn't be any conflict at all. MASH's protagonists might be flawed, but they're not dumb either, so the drama at the heart of Fallen Idol rings false because of how they're portrayed.